My great-grandmother's grandfather leased his farm, and he was paid a lease bonus of $35,000. This was in 1865. They got no wells on the property, and he came out $35,000 to the good. So that when these numbers are being talked about now, I mean, in historical perspective, I mean, they drilled dry holes on his property, but he came up with the $35,000. Now, my great-grandfather Davis leased his farm in 1895. That property is still held by, in essence, the original lease. There's been some changes over time, but most of the changes weren't to the good. So when you enter into an agreement, you are entering into it for the long term. The large landowners group held a seminar last year over at the Little Elks Resort there in Lewis County, Stonewall Jackson Lake place. And these are people like Georgia Pacific and all the big land and mineral owners, and they held an oil and gas leasing seminar on things you do and don't do. And the way this guy described it says, when you enter into this lease, this is like entering into a marriage contract for which there is no divorce. And you have to be very careful with what you agree to. So as he said, so if you go to sleep at night with the gas company in bed with you, you're not going to wake up in the morning missing parts that are near and dear to you. So it's very careful that very important that you write and agree and understand what you have agreed to, because otherwise you will find out some very, very unfortunate things later on. Now, I was unable to come in my library. I don't have a copy of the West Virginia Geological Survey book for Pocahontas County. I do have the one for Greenbrier County. There is the map there and showing formations as things were mapped out in the 30s. This book was discarded from a college library because they didn't need this anymore. It was discarded several years ago. My mother was able to cabbage it out of the dumpster. But that is the map that went with it, and it shows the formations to the south of where we are here, and some of them go up through there. There is a lot of information available, and over on the wall over there is a stratigraphic column of the formations that underlie the eastern part of West Virginia over where I live, which is over on the other side of the state. But some of it is pretty much general. These are 3 deep wells that were drilled in Ward County and Run County. Now, the Marcellus that they're talking about is right here. This is about 6,000 feet where I live. According to that map, in some places in Greenbrier County, at least, the Marcellus comes out to the surface. Seneca Rocks is Oriskany Formation, which is below the Marcellus, and so these formations come out in certain places. And so depths and all are somewhat, depend. In Rome County, sometime this spring, whenever they get the bugs worked out of the mess they got themselves into, Chesapeake is going to drill a horizontal well in this Kingsbury Formation at 16,000 feet. They're going to drill a well a mile and a half horizontal at 16,000 feet. They're bringing in a rig from Oklahoma to do that. They're currently drilling a well similar to that up in Ohio, up around Alliance. The drilling that's going on statewide is the most that has ever happened in the state, and in the parts of the state where drilling is routine, the 1900-1910 time was when most of it, or more, went on than anything else. Now, I live near Burning Springs. Burning Springs had oil wells drilled in the 1850s. Shortly thereafter, they drilled the Drake well up in Pennsylvania. There's a well at Burning Springs that was drilled. If it wasn't the first one, it was the second or third one. It's still there and producing, and there's a number of them that are, well over a century old that are still producing. My family had all kinds of oil and gas problems, and everything you could think of about has transpired. And because of all that, and because of an opportunity came to pass, I ended up owning the oil and gas wells that are on our property, and a bunch of others too, and I operate about 150. Most of them are the ones that are way down on that decline curve where big outfits would plug and abandon them. And a large number of them are oil wells. They don't make any gas. But, this is the sort of thing that coming into a new area, there's certain things that you don't want to agree to, and there's certain things that you insist on. Free gas there's no reason for not having free gas.